Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. And what you see in front of you is a massive pile of computing parts. This is going to be part of a series of actually four separate videos, because there's actually parts here for four different computers. And we'll go through them in just a little bit. But what these are for, there's parts for the main PC, the old PC, the Powerbook, and the old laptop. So what I think we should do is go through them, starting with, let's start with the current PC, what I'm going to do with that. Starting first with the quite obvious element in the room, being this massive box that was in the other one. This, of course, is a new CPU cooler, and it's a little bit dusty there. You can probably see what it is if you're blessed with the gift of reading. It's the NHC14S by Noctua. Kind of an overkill cooler. But the reason I got this is the other cooler keeps making what I can only describe as, well, if you're native to the UK, you'll know what I mean, like a Ford Transit van trying to struggle up a hill when it starts up. This only happens for a little bit, and then by the time Windows kicks in, it sort of goes away, but sometimes it doesn't. And it sounds to me like a dodgy bearing. Of course, we don't want that. It probably is going to be fine, but not only that, when you're sort of doing things, when you start to increase the activity on the machine, it starts making a horrible whining noise, and once you hear it, you can hear it forever. So anyway, that's this one. I'm going to open this up. Also, what I got with it is the companion fan, the one that's on here anyway, but an extra one because I'm going to do push-pull. Let's get into this box. Okay, now I have kind of been in here already just to inspect it, and I've got to say I'm quite impressed with the way that they, if I can get this out one-handed, with the way that they pack this thing. Look at that. It's completely modular, and for a packaging nerd like me, I know I've said this before, this is the kind of stuff I like. So let's have a look what they've got. They've got a separate box for almost everything. You've got your accessories here. You've also got the mounting hardware, which is for AMD in this particular case. I won't be using that though. And stuff for Intel, obviously. And then you've got a dividing thing, a sheet of cardboard. And you can actually now see the cooler itself. This is a big one, and I can try and get it out, but I might have to pause the camera. Since I'm not going to fit this might actually be a little bit pointless. I don't know if I'll be able to get it back in the box, but that is, I see when I picked that up, that is extremely well packed. Tell you what, I'll only give you a peek into it. That is what it looks like. It's got a single fan which is already mounted. And it's a top-down cooler, so there's the bottom of it, and there's the other one, so it will blow onto the motherboard. I think this would be a better idea because of the VRMs that are there. It'll cool them as well, and then provide much better cooling for those. Because they currently haven't got any, I don't think, or maybe they've got a heat sink, but it just makes it all kind of nicer. I could try and get it out. Oh, hang on, comes out. So it does. Wait a second. Put that over there. Looks like a spacer. Yep, it is a spacer. Tell you what, I think I will just leave this in the packaging till it comes time to install this. Because, well, to be honest, I'm never going to get this back in. So we'll leave that for now and take a look at the fan. Oh, I just thought I'd take a quick look at, actually, before we go on to the fan, the accessories box. I won't bother looking at the other things because they're just mounting hardware and it's kind of obvious what's going to be in there. But, yeah, this is the accessories that you get with it. Give me a second. There we go. I knew I could do that with one hand. In here, oh, it's quite good. I've forgotten what you got. You have a mounting screwdriver. Basically, it's a screwdriver on a big long L shape. That's absolutely necessary to be that size because this thing's massive when it's on. And we have a little bag which appears to be full of a noise speed. A noise speed? Sorry, no. A low noise adapter, some thermal compound, and an extra clip to clip an extra fan. Oh, you got a sticker as well. Although I won't be using that. This compound, apparently, I had a look into this on the internet, and apparently this is just slightly better than Arctic Silver 5. Some people say different, but most of it, well, not 9 times out of 10, a lot of the time, you know, it comes out as being a bit better. So anyway, let's put that back until we actually install it, and then I'll move on to the fan. I decided to get this extra fan because, as I mentioned, I'm doing push-pull. It's going to basically decrease the temperatures on the higher end, so it probably won't make much difference to idle temperatures, but this is going to make it better for high-end temperatures. Apparently it's called the NF-A14PWM, and well, yeah, that tells you about as much as it probably tells you. It's just a 140mm fan which has PWM capabilities. Again, I really like the presentation of this. It's in a nice box that you actually get a kind of a cover with, a little Velcro thing on there. And, wow, there it is. Get some diagrams on what that looks like, and airflow patterns, and all kinds of other technical bump that you probably don't care about. It gives you the package contents, which is actually quite impressive. I'll just pause on that a little bit. Let's have a look at the fan on its own. I just paused so I could get that out of its packet. You're presented with a very attractive kind of Noctua pack. And you've got the fan, obviously. These are really nice fans. The only thing about them is that the colour scheme is absolute arse, but apparently they've got the Industrial Series fans, which are incredibly expensive, but they're a lot better coloured than this. Anyway, that's enough of that. You get in the package, you get this Y splitter cable, very useful to have if you want two fans off the same connector. Oh shit, I just dropped it on the fan. You've also got another fan speed reducer, or low noise adapter as they call it, but that's all it does really, just slows down the fan, thus decreasing noise. And you've got this, which is an extension cable. Quite useful. I had to use an extension cable in the PC for one of my front fans. I think before I exchange these, put these in, I think I might just use this one because it's nicer. You also get 4 fan mounting bolts. I don't know if I'll be using these because the way my case is, I don't think these actually fit. I think they have to be longer. But that's not a problem. You get 4 of these rubber mounting things. I assume that they're probably for vibration and other things like that. Probably won't be using them, but hey, doesn't matter. What else do you get in the packet? You do get this instruction manual, which I've just hurriedly pulled through that hole. But basically, I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to do with it. Is it instructions? Well, it's installation instructions, user manual, warranty support. So I suppose it is useful. But yeah, I'm just going to put all this back in this until we actually install it. But that's the Noctua fans. Very pleased with them. And additional to that, we have a few other little parts of the PC. Not many things, because this PC is mostly awesome anyway. Just a DVI kit, just a DVI to HDMI converter. Nothing substantial, but if you look at the pins in here, that is a DVI-D to HDMI. The other one I found when I put the new card in, it was like it wouldn't actually fit. And I discovered exactly why, because the other one had extra pins that were meant for a DVI-I socket, so it wouldn't even let me put it in to the DVI-D only thing on the back of the card. So I had to get a new one. That's not really that important. Next up we got like a cable thing. This is actually modified. It was an EVGA Firewire and USB type backplate. However, what I found was the actual aperture for the hole for the Firewire socket, you can actually comfortably fit a USB type plug in there, which is great because that means that there's actually an internal USB socket which I want to make use of. So this is going to go great inside. Next up, or rather last but not least for this one, we have these beauties, and if I can stand them up I will. These, as you can quite easily see if you're blessed with a gift of being able to read, are the ML140 magnetic levitation fans, quite new from Corsair. I was intrigued by them and I want to try them out because I'm trying to sort of reduce the noise in this PC along with the new cooler, and along with these I'm hoping that will reduce it quite significantly. It might not make any difference, who knows. I found when I actually stopped the other fans that there was a little bit of noise coming from them and it wasn't just air. So I think some of that will be down to the bearings. These supposedly, the way they're touting them kind of thing, the way I understand it that is that these are only going to be noisy because of the air moving through them. That's it. The rest of the noise is going to be taken care of. I certainly hope so, as they weren't exactly cheap, but yeah, you live and learn with your mistakes. On to the next bit. Up next are some parts for the old laptop. Now, as you might have seen, by the time this video gets posted, hopefully parts 1 and 2, which I neglected to post at all, of the old laptop project, they didn't all go too well. The idea was to upgrade my old Acer laptop to try and give it better storage, see how far I could push it. It's kind of pointless, I know, but whatever. But what I've got here to sort of further that is I've managed to get myself a new old stock, by the way, Vertex 2 SATA 2 SSD. This might work due to a hunch I have. I will explain more about that, but hopefully this will be a lot more successful than what I had previously. And of course, I mean, with this video in particular, I will be going into more detail with all these items when I come to build. This is just kind of an overview of the whole project ahead. Next up is a wireless card. This is not insignificant, as this is probably the best version of this type of graphics, this type of wireless card that you can get. Because this is mini PCI, not mini PCIe. This is an old format of wireless card. It's probably the best one you can get. Apparently it's N150, and it should give me some kind of access to my network natively without having to use a USB dongle. So these are the extra items. There would have been a third in the form of a PC card with eSATA ports on it, but it's been ordered for weeks and weeks, at least since the second half of, or at least 2 weeks into September, and it's nowhere to be seen. So I don't think that's coming. I'm probably going to have to raise a complaint, but if there's a future part of the video I might include it. But anyway, next machine. Next we have quite an interesting one. The video should be up, at least, God, I can't even remember what videos I've uploaded. If it's not, it will be uploaded hastily before this one. This is some extra parts for my Powerbook, and as you can see, it's pretty obvious what we've got, but I'll go through it anyway. This thing here is an SSD that I bought for it, but it has to be IDE as per the interface. Oh, shit. But it turns out that it's basically just an MSATA drive on an adapter, which is kind of one way I was going to go, but I probably paid too much for this, as I was looking for a native IDE-based SSD, but I was kind of concerned because they don't perform all that well inside of some of these Macs, and they were quite expensive, which that was, but never mind, it's done now. I have a new copy of OS X Leopard, which will go great. It's currently got Tiger on it, and while I don't have a problem with Tiger, I did use it back in the day, it's not my favourite OS, and this kind of was when OS X started to really look more modern. It started to look more like it does now. Well, at least up until Mavericks. Next, we have a new battery, because the other one does not hold a charge. The instant you pull the cable, it turns off. And this one, apparently, it has 2 dots worth. That's a measurement system, 2 dots. Wow, okay. But what concerns me is that I did order this with the proviso that it was actually aluminium, and it's clearly not, it's grey. Anyway, I've missed the boat in terms of returns, so we'll have to deal with that. Anyway, and of course underneath, and I won't bother holding this up because you can see exactly what it is a brand new top case and keyboard. All I wanted initially was just an extra keyboard module, because the other one, it's worn down, as you can probably see from the video that may or not be posted. Yeah, best put that up. But what I actually found was an immaculate top case section. It really is. There's practically nothing on there, and the trackpad feels pretty good. So at some point that's going to all be swapped into the unit, and we're going to have Leopard on the SSD working. It's all going to be lovely. Right, now last but not least, we move on to the old PC parts. So now we come to the last part of today's haul, basically, and this is quite interesting. Before you hear, some of these are obvious, but I'll go through them anyway. So the old PC, of course, was retired when this new one was built. There are videos on the channel about that. But what I wanted to do is, the old PC is still pretty good. It's got a very decent motherboard in it, a P5QLE, which can handle all of the, basically the whole range of all the Core 2 chips. So it can even do the QX9770 if you got that much money. But you know, I didn't want to see it sort of go to waste. So I've got a few items here which will improve it a little bit, and it'll be brought back into a functional state within the next couple of months, so however long it takes me to actually do that. Okay, so what we've got in front of us here is we have this thing first. Now, what this is a relatively inexpensive SATA card that I got from China. I think it was like a $5. Basically, all it does is it transforms either a SATA and or an MSATA. I'm not actually sure whether it does both at once. It transforms that and pushes it through PCI Express. And from what I learned, basically my board does have a couple of 1x PCI Express slots, which should deliver about 500 megabytes a second at their generation. So this will allow SSDs to be a little bit faster, because currently that PC has SATA 2 ports, which of course limit it to about 267 or whatever. So this will come in very handy for boosting that. Also, we have some fans. Now we have two slightly different ones. We've got the Arctic Cooling F12 and the F12 PWM, used for two slightly different things. See, the old PC is getting back the cooler that will be inside of this current PC, and it will also be getting back the 550 Ti graphics card. But what we do need as well is the cooling, and the airflow in that case is utter crap. So what we're going to try and do is improve that with the F12 for the front fan, as there's only one in there, and the PWM is for an interesting purpose. What I'm planning to do is pull out the horribly noisy fan that's inside the power supply and power it externally using a splitter on the PWM connector on the CPU cooler. That should mean it moves in step with the CPU and also provides cooling that's hopefully a lot quieter. But, ladies and gentlemen, we have one last item which is really interesting, and I'm going to clear some space because it's really special. This, my friends, as you can probably see from the code, the more astute of you will actually notice that this is a Q9650, a Core 2 quad processor. In my sort of effort to sort of make this PC better, I've had a look at the situation and thought, what can I do to sort of max it out kind of thing? And this, while some might argue this isn't the best processor that I can take, realistically it's one of the best I can get. Let's just open this up. And there it is, folks. It is just a CPU, so it's not really all that remarkable, but this little thing, while it isn't that much better than the Q9400 I've got in there, it will perform better anyway. It'll still be better than what I've got anyway. It's got double the cache, and it's clocked at about 3 GHz. So this is going to be interesting. So we're going to see what that's going to do. And yeah, this whole project of these 4 builds has got me excited because pretty much there's been nothing going on recently, so I'll have something to do. Yeah, so let's just round this up. So yes, lots of interesting projects coming up, and hopefully I'll be able to do these and actually get the videos out in a decent time. So until then, have a nice evening. Or do whatever you want to do. I don't know. Have a beer. Bye. Oh yeah, I got a new phone. Well, it's last year's phone, but I like it.